Again, good morning, everyone. My name is Lisa Millman. I'm the specialist here at the Family Resource Center, and we're so excited to have you here for Behavior Solutions for Parents of Secondary Students, Proactive Strategies for Effective Communication. Today we have Scott Edmonds, Carrie Pecoraro, and Ashley Loftabadi. They are behavior intervention teachers here from FCPS's Behavior Intervention Services. Behavior Intervention Services provides behavioral intervention and support for students receiving general education and/or special education in grades pre-K through 12. Behavior intervention teachers are assigned to each pyramid and work closely to collaborate with the administrators and staff to develop systematic plans for behavior. So, Carrie, welcome, everyone. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. And we'll begin. Choose an image that represents why you came today. Number 1, to strengthen your basic knowledge. 2, to gain confidence. 3, to learn preventative strategies. Or 4, all of the above. Take some time to reflect on which one fits you best. Let's take a look at our agenda. We will discuss executive function and routines, reinforcing positive behaviors, and effective communication. We will then go through some scenarios and finally end with some takeaway tips. Executive function skills are cognitive abilities that help people manage their thoughts, actions, and emotions to achieve goals. Executive function skills play a vital role in managing emotions, resolving conflicts, and forming healthy relationships. During adolescence, teens are an intense stage of executive function development. While significant progress has been made in the development of executive function skills during childhood, the teen years mark a period of building on these skills. The prefrontal cortex, which is crucial for executive functions, undergoes significant change during the teenage years, leading to improvements in cognitive abilities related to planning, organizing, cognitive flexibility, and self-monitoring. However, it's important to note that executive function development is not uniform across all teens. There can be variations in pace and extent of development due to genetics, environment, and individual experiences. Hormonal changes and peer pressure during adolescence can sometimes pose challenges to the consistent application of executive function skills. New research suggests that executive function skills are not fully developed until age 29. So while teens look and smell like adults, they are still kids. Overall, while teens are making strides in their executive function development, they are still in a phase where these skills are maturing and becoming more refined. Continued support and opportunities for practice can help teens strengthen their executive function skills and navigate the challenges of adolescence effectively. A parent's role in supporting executive function development in teens is vital, as they play a significant role in shaping their teens' environment and providing opportunities for growth. Parents can play a crucial role in helping their teens develop strong executive function skills and succeed academically, socially, and emotionally. Routines, procedures, and expectations provide structure and predictability in a household, fostering a sense of stability and security for both parents and teens. Clear routines help establish daily rhythms and habits, promoting efficiency and organization in tasks and activities. Procedures outlined in the steps and responsibilities for various household tasks, ensuring everyone knows their roles and contributions to the functioning of the household. Expectations set standards for behaviors, academic performance, and responsibilities, guiding teens towards responsible and respectful actions. When these elements are established, consistency upheld, they form the foundation for a harmonious household and a positive parent-teen relationship built on trust, understanding, and mutual respect. Think for a moment, if someone verbally tells you how to make a recipe, how confident would you be with executing that recipe from memory, just from hearing the recipe one time? The same is true for our teens and the routines, procedures, and expectations we hold for them at home. Teaching and practicing is an ongoing process, and one that will need repeated efforts and adaptations along the way. The hope is routines and procedures and expectations have been in your home since your teen was young, and many of these routines have become habit for them. If this is new or something you are starting again after a hiccup, you have to meet your teen where they are and think outside the box to create buy-in for your teen. Supporting your teen and learning how to implement routines can be a huge impact on their success. Routines provide structure and stability, helping teens manage their time effectively and reduce stress. By establishing consistent routines, teens can improve their organization, productivity, and self-discipline. Additionally, mastering the skills of implementing the routines early in life sets a foundation for a lifelong habits that promote success in various aspects of their life. Routines provide efficiency. They can help organize their time and tasks, making them more efficient and productive. By establishing a routine, individuals can minimize decision-making, allowing them to complete tasks more quickly. It can also provide a sense of consistency. Knowing what to expect at certain times can reduce anxiety and stress, offering a comforting sense of structure. Engaging in regular routines can help individuals develop positive habits and break negative ones. Repeating certain behaviors can make them more automatic over time. Routines can support progress towards long-term goals by breaking them down into manageable daily or weekly tasks. Many routines involve activities that promote physical and mental well-being, such as exercise, meditation, or proper nutrition. By including these practices into their daily lives, individuals can improve their overall health and quality of life. Routines help individuals manage their time, making sure that important tasks and responsibilities are completed on time. In some cases, routines are influenced by cultural or societal expectation. Certain activities can be ingrained in daily life due to traditions, religious practices, or social norms. Reinforcing positive behaviors with your teens is essential for fostering their development and well-being. By acknowledging and praising their efforts and achievements, you validate their accomplishments and boost their self-esteem. Positive reinforcement helps teens internalize desired behaviors and motivates them to continue making positive choices. It strengthens their parent-teen bond and promotes a supportive and nurturing relationship built on trust and mutual respect. Ultimately, reinforcing positive behaviors sets the stage for teens to develop into responsible, confident individuals capable of navigating life's challenges with resilience and determination. Let's talk a little about demands and reinforcement. A demand is when you ask your teen to do something that they may or may not want to do. A reinforcement is when your teen has done something you wanted them to do, and you give them feedback by acknowledging the behavior. For example, a demand would be make your bed, and the reinforcement attached to that demand would be a verbal praise. Wow, you made your bed. That's awesome. When we think about how we acknowledge our teen and provide them with reinforcement, we want to remember the demand to reinforcement ratio. That means when we ask our teen to do more or increase the demand we are placing on them without increasing our acknowledgement or reinforcement, we will see more behavior challenges. When we see this imbalance between demands and reinforcement happen to adults, we call it burnout. When it happens to teenagers, we can expect challenging behaviors as they struggle to figure out how to cope with this imbalance. As demands increase, so must reinforcement. When this balance occurs, it is hoped that we see more of the behaviors we are looking for. Reinforcing positive behaviors is crucial for encouraging growth and development in teens. Verbal praise, such as acknowledging their efforts and achievement, boosts their self-esteem and motivates them to continue exhibiting positive behaviors. Quality time spent with a caregiver fosters a strong bond and provides teens with emotional support and guidance. Access to opportunities such as extra screen time or social outings serves as a tangible reward for demonstrating desired behaviors. Reinforcing the value of responsibility and cooperation. Tangible rewards, such as a favorite snack or a small gift, provide immediate reinforcement and serves as a tangible reminder of their accomplishments. Additionally, monetary reinforcement, such as allowance bonuses or cash incentives for reaching their goal, offers teens tangible incentives to strive for positive behavior and achievement. For example, in some jobs as adults, there are bonuses that are directly correlated to their work output. When used effectively, these reinforcement strategies create a supportive environment that encourages teens to make positive choices and develop into responsible, confident individuals. Reinforcing positive behaviors through specific verbal praise using the decide, label, deliver model is an effective way to provide meaningful encouragement to your teen. First, decide on the behavior you want to reinforce, such as completing homework on time or showing kindness to a sibling. Next, label the behavior by clearly and specifically describing what your teen did well, such as, I noticed you took the initiative to help your friend with their project without being asked. Finally, deliver the praise by expressing your appreciation and highlighting the positive impact of their actions, such as, your thoughtfulness shows me that you're responsible and caring, which makes me proud. This model ensures that your praise is focused, specific, and genuine, reinforcing positive behavior and motivating your teen to continue making positive choices.
Effective communication with your teen is essential for building a strong and trusting relationship as the foundation to continue support their executive function development. It provides a platform for understanding, empathy, and mutual respect, fostering a supportive environment where your teen feels heard and valued. By maintaining open lines of communication, you can better understand your teen's thoughts, feelings, and experiences, allowing you to provide guidance and support when needed. Effective communication also promotes healthy conflict resolution skills, teaching your teen how to express themselves assertively and resolve disagreements constructively. Ultimately, investing in effective communication with your teen lays the groundwork for a positive and resilient parent-teen relationship, empowering your teen to navigate life's challenges with confidence and resilience. Effective communication between parents and teens is essential for building strong relationships and fostering mutual understanding. By adopting strategies such as developing open conversations through being judgment-free, parents can create a safe space where teens feel comfortable expressing themselves without fear of criticism or reprimand. Engaging in active listening demonstrates genuine interest and empathy, validating teens' feelings and perspectives. Being reliable entails honoring commitments and promises, building trust and credibility in the parent-teen relationship. Flexibility allows parents to adapt to their teens' evolving needs and preferences, promoting open communication and problem solving. Finally, leading by example involves modeling positive communication between behaviors and values, shaping teens' communication skills and attitudes through observation and imitation. Coming from a judgment-free space is a crucial strategy for effective communication. It shows that you value their thoughts, feelings, and experiences, even if they differ from your own. These 4 main points, acceptance, genuineness, empathy, and respect, are necessary to create a safe, comfortable environment in which your team will talk more openly. Having effective communication does not mean that everyone always has to agree. By listening attentively and validating their perspective, you create a safe and supportive environment where your team feels understood and respected. Respecting their perspective fosters trust and encourages open dialogue, allowing for more meaningful and productive conversations. It also teaches your team the importance of respecting others' viewpoints, promoting empathy and mutual understanding. Ultimately, respecting your team's perspective strengthens your relationship and paves the way for healthy communication and collaboration. Be aware of your body language, your tone, and using respectful language when engaging with your team. Inadvertently, you may be displaying body language that displays what your team perceives as judgmental. One of our behavior intervention teachers shared an example from her home. When trying to problem solve with her teenager, her daughter said, "Why are you making that face?" She was unaware that her face was critical and was truly trying to come from a place of non-judgment. It put a barrier in their communication. To problem solve this, they discussed the conversation with their backs to each other. That way, neither could see each other's face, and it brought lightness to the conversation while also removing the emotional barriers. Active listening is when the caregiver makes a conscious effort to listen to the words their teen is saying, as well as their body language to understand their complete message that their student is trying to communicate. Full attention is key to successful active listening. All distractions should be minimized to include thinking of your response if you do not agree and with what is being said. When engaged in active listening, your job is paraphrasing the thoughts and feelings you are hearing from the words, tone of voice, and body language of the speaker. Active listening is focused 100% on the speaker. If you are feeling compelled to give advice or correct your teen rather than actively listen, you might try repeating your teen's words in your head. Flexibility is a key strategy for effective communication with your teen. Teens are experiencing rapid growth and change, and their needs and perspectives may change frequently. Being flexible means being open to listening to your teen's ideas and adjusting your approach as needed. It also involves being willing to compromise and find solutions that meet both your needs and your teen's. If you think back to our example with communicating with your teen back to back, what flexible thinking our behavior intervention teacher had in that moment. Fostering trust is essential for effective communication with your teen. When your teen trusts you, they're more likely to open up and share their thoughts and feelings. Trust builds a foundation of mutual respect and understanding, creating a safe space for honest conversations. By demonstrating trustworthiness through consistency, honesty, and reliability, you show your teen that you value their perspective and respect their autonomy. Ultimately, fostering trust strengthens your relationship with your teen and lays the groundwork for healthy communication and collaboration. Leading by example when working with your teen to communicate effectively involves demonstrative active listening, empathy, and respect in your own interactions with them. By modeling open and honest communication, parents can create a supportive environment where teens feel comfortable expressing themselves and discussing their thoughts and feelings. Caregivers who lead by example and maintaining the routines demonstrate the value of organization and time management, encouraging their teen to follow suit. Caregivers who lead by example in effective communication affirm their feelings, but choose their actions and responses in ways that are going to benefit the relationship. Through their actions and behaviors, parents can instill positive communication habits and lifestyle routines in their teens, laying the foundation for a well-structured home environment. You may not always be aware of times when you are not leading by example. For instance, when you are driving, you might frequently glance at your phone for messages or calls, despite advising your teen to not do that due to safety concerns. To address this, you might try to lead by example by making a conscious effort to change your behavior. You can commit to setting a better example by keeping your phone out of reach or using hands-free options when driving. By doing this, you are reinforcing the importance of responsible cell phone use in the car. Effective communication can be hindered by various barriers that impede understanding and connection. Criticizing your teen's actions or decisions can erode their self-esteem and discourage open dialogue. Interrupting them while they're speaking shows disregard for their thoughts and feelings, hindering meaningful communication. Asserting your power over your teen can create a dynamic of resistance and defensiveness, shutting down productive conversations. Judging their choices or behaviors can make them feel judged and defensive, making them less likely to share openly. Asking too many questions can feel intrusive and overwhelming, shutting down communication rather than fostering it. Lastly, your tone can convey judgment, frustration, or disinterest, creating emotional barriers to effective communication. Overcoming these barriers involves practicing active listening, speaking respectfully, and fostering a supportive and empathetic environment where both parties feel valued and heard.
So let's put all these skills together, and we're going to talk through some scenarios and think about the skills we talked about today and how they can help problem solve these situations. We're going to look at our first scenario. This one's called curfew chaos. So your teenager consistently breaks curfew, returning home later than agreed upon. And despite discussions about the importance of punctuality and safety, they continue to disregard the rules, causing worry and strained trust between you and your teen. And so thinking about our effective communication skills that Scott kind of talked about, that open dialogue or active listening, establishing clear expectations, and leading by example, these are kind of going to guide us through our solutions for each scenario today. So when we think about them, we're going to initiate a calm and non-confrontational conversation with your teen through that open dialogue. So we're going to start by expressing your concern for their safety and well-being. Let them know that breaking curfew not only violates household rules, but also puts them at risk. You're going to hear out your teen's perspective through active listening. They may have reasons for breaking curfew that you haven't articulated yet. So listening attentively without interrupting and trying to understand their point of view. We'll set clear expectations and reiterate the importance of punctuality and respecting those agreed upon curfews, and making sure your teen understands that the consequences of consistently breaking curfew, both in terms of the privileges they have access to, but also the safety. Thinking about how we're going to lead by example, we want to make sure that we're also demonstrating punctuality and responsibility in our own life. I know some of us are better at being punctual than others. And your actions speak louder than words, and modeling the behavior you expect from your teen can really have significant impact. It's also important to schedule regular check-ins to discuss how things are going. This provides the opportunity to assess progress. Maybe, we notice that they're being really successful with just a little bit more time. Can they add a little bit more extra as you go? Thinking about those reinforcing positive behaviors that Carrie talked about. What are some of those privileges that they can have? And also just kind of checking in on if they're following the rules. So acknowledging and praising your teen when they adhere to the curfew and other rules. And that positive reinforcement can really be a powerful motivator for that continued good behavior. In our next scenario, we've got chores. So your teen consistently avoids doing their assigned household chores, leading to frustration and tension within the family. Despite reminders and discussions about the importance of contributing to the household tasks, they procrastinate or find excuses to avoid completing their chores. So for some strategies you might consider would be, again, that open dialogue. Express your concerns about the impact it has on the family and the importance of everyone contributing to the whole family. Allow your teen to express their perspective without interruption. Listen attentively to understand any underlying reasons for their behavior. They might be feeling overwhelmed, or maybe they don't actually know how to do certain tasks, or have other priorities. So clearly communicate your expectations regarding the household chores, including what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, how it gets done, and then the consequences of not completing tasks. Having those clear guidelines can help minimize misunderstandings. If your teenager is unsure how to perform those certain tasks, offer to teach them or provide resources to help them learn. Offering support can boost their confidence and motivate them to kind of tackle their responsibilities. And again, that leading by example to show your teenager that everyone in the household is expected to contribute by consistently fulfilling our own responsibilities. I know right now I have about 3 loads of laundry waiting for me that should have been done earlier in the week, but I'm procrastinating on that. So being thoughtful of how often we are leading by example versus when we're not. Acknowledge and praise your teen when they take initiative or complete their chores without being reminded. That positive reinforcement can encourage them to continue to get those tasks done on time. Again, those regular check-ins just to discuss how things are going or whether any adjustments need to be made to the chores. Maybe they're getting bored with a certain chore or they need to try something else. Because we also want to make sure they've learned all the skills of taking care of the house and things that they need to do. So this just provides that opportunity to address any challenges or any concerns or any things that we need to figure out before it becomes a larger issue and escalates into more of a difficult situation. So we've got academic apathy. In this scenario, this is about school. So your teen shows little interest or efforts in their studies, resulting in declining grades and academic performance. And despite encouragement, tutoring, and support, they seem unmotivated to apply themselves academically, causing frustration and concerns for their future. So through that open dialogue and active listening, we're going to express our concerns about their declining grades and ask them to share their thoughts and feelings about school. Again, I know it can be really hard, but we got to listen attentively to the perspective without interrupting or passing judgment. Try to understand that what is the underlying reason for their lack of motivation? Is it boredom? Is it difficulty with the material? Or are there other personal issues that might be going on? Collaborate with your teen to set realistic academic goals. We want to make sure that they're specific, they're measurable, and that they're achievable. Breaking down those larger goals into smaller, more manageable tasks can help them feel a sense of accomplishment and also progress. Offer your teen emotional support and encouragement as they navigate their academic challenges. Let them know that you believe in their abilities and that you're there to help them to succeed. Work together with your teen to identify any barriers that may be hindering their academic performance. It could be learning difficulties, could be social pressures, mental health issues, or a lack of interest in the chosen subjects. Empower your teen to take ownership of their education by allowing them to make decisions about their learning path and their academic goals. It's our job to offer guidance and support, but also give them the freedom to make choices and also learn from their experiences. Acknowledge and celebrate your teen's academic achievement and progress. And no matter how small, any of that positive feedback feels really good. That positive reinforcement can really boost their confidence and motivation to continue to apply themselves academically. And we've got our social media, our phone time. In this scenario, your teen spends excessive amounts of time on social media, neglecting responsibilities and face-to-face interactions. Despite discussions about healthy technology use and the negative effects of constant screen time, they prioritize virtual connections over those real-life experiences, causing tension within the family. You're going to kind of initiate that calm, non-confrontational conversation with your teen about their social media habits. Express your concerns about how excessive screen time is affecting their responsibilities and their relationships. And then listen to their perspective without judgment to understand their reasons for prioritizing those virtual connections. Create a supportive environment where your teen feels comfortable discussing their struggles with social media and seeking help when needed. Encourage open communication about their feelings, challenges, and successes in reducing screen time. And set clear boundaries around social media use, such as designated time when devices must be put away, Maybe you have specific tech-free zones in the house or limits on screen times per day. And involve your teen in creating these boundaries to increase their sense of ownership and accountability. Maybe they've decided which places they shouldn't have their phone. And involve your teen as much as possible. And also model healthy technology habits yourself by demonstrating moderation in your own screen time and prioritizing face-to-face interactions with family members. I know a lot of times we're very critical about what our children and teens are doing, but then we reflect on, like I think about my husband constantly doom scrolling on Twitter, just thinking what modeling is he really doing for our family? So really kind of keeping ourselves in check, especially when we're in front of our children. And acknowledge and praise your teenager when they make efforts to reduce their social media usage. You can see at least I have an iPhone, and you can have that like screen time weekly. They give you that screen time update. If there's a little bit of a decrease, what a thing to celebrate. Engage your teen in setting those goals for reducing the screen time and increasing those real life interactions. Discuss the benefits of spending quality time with families and friends, and identify specific activities that they enjoy doing offline and plan them and have them really set up in a schedule. And again, that regular check-in, kind of that time to really check in on a frequent basis to see how things are going and monitor their progress and adjust strategies if it's working, adjust strategies if it's not working. We really want to celebrate the successes and address any setbacks with empathy and understanding when we're going through this. So as we kind of close today, we're going to do some quick takeaway tips, and then we'll have our Q&A. So kind of as we sum up, our tip 1 is you set the tone. As a parent, you are the person setting the tone for your home and the behavior expectations. So for example, with the last scenario, you may have a rule that there are no phones at the table. Your job is to let them know the expectation and then also have the reinforcement ready that's attached to when they do that behavior. So you remind them where to place their phones before dinner. You come to the dinner table, and when they follow through, maybe they get access to it after dinner for an extra few minutes. Tip 2, show your child that you are relatable. So make interactions meaningful with your teen and enjoyable experiences too, that you will want to continue and they will want to continue engaging with you and spend more time sharing experiences. Any chance you have to make it fun and connect with the stuff that they enjoy to do it. So whether it is going out and kicking the soccer ball around, or maybe you're engaging with them with that video game that they play, trying to play along with them as best as you can, just to be able to take a step into their world a little bit. Tip 3, show that your teen that you can trust them. Give your teens opportunities and responsibilities, and acknowledge their success with these opportunities and responsibilities. When they become more successful and you have seen their judgment in making appropriate decisions, give more opportunities for independence. This builds autonomy, and autonomy is the ability for a teen to navigate their own self. And these opportunities are kind of a continuum that could be different depending on each teen, maybe each opportunity, and how many successes they've had in the past. This is the foundation of the trust that you have in them, but also the trust that they have in you. And it's an ongoing process, depending on the success your teen has had with this independence. Tip 4, reinforce often. This is, celebrating those small and big successes. We are competing with lots of things that reinforce behaviors with our teens. And so we have to kind of step it up. And it's often noted that in healthy relationships, we're hoping to see a ratio of 11 positive interactions and feedbacks to 1 negative interaction. So these positive interactions they can be as simple as a smile or a hand on the back, or as big as those specific reinforcers that we talked about earlier. But knowing that for every 1 negative interaction, you need to have 11 of those. We really want to flood them as much as we can with those little moments of positivity to really get that ratio up. Tip 5, they are still kids. They may look and smell like adults. They may even think that they are adults, but they are still kids. Remember back to at the beginning of our presentation when Carrie talked about those executive function skills. They're not developed till around the age of 29. And while I think we look at teens compared to, elementary school students and what they were like in elementary school students, and they have vastly improved their executive function skills from when they were little, there's still so much growth to be done in their brains. So just keep that in mind that they're definitely in this middle ground, but they're still kids for a big chunk of what's going on in their brains, and thinking about how we can support them and put in strategies so they can be successful. And tip 6, give yourself grace. We're trying to navigate so much in our day-to-day, and teens and children are being exposed to so much more, and they're trying to navigate it all. We're in a polarized world, and just give yourself and your teen grace as you navigate this. We've given you a lot of suggestions. Maybe you just add one that will make you feel like you can take over these next few weeks. And then once that one's kind of getting in there, add another. Our goal is growth, not perfection. So, take the time to enjoy your teen, your family, and just give yourself grace as we go through this. I do want to highlight the end of May, I believe May 31st, we have our second part of this training, kind of diving into more of the reactive strategies, kind of looking at what's going on in the teen brain, and kind of more of, once we're getting into those power struggles, how we can respond. So if you're interested, we would love for you to sign up for kind of our second part of this. And then we'll go ahead and get started, Lisa, with our questions and answers.
Okay, I was putting the registration in the chat when you went to questions. So I'll put that in 1 minute.
Perfect,
So
thank you.
Here's the first one. What are examples of reinforcements besides limiting screen time, taking away phones, or limiting time with friends?
So when I look at that, to me, the limiting their screen time, taking away their phones, or limiting time with their friends are more consequences, things that kind of are more punishment. But when we're looking at reinforcement, it's more kind of what things can we put in place for when we're seeing the appropriate behavior. I don't know if Carrie or Scott, you want to add to that a little bit.
So yeah, if part of your routine is limiting the screen time, it can then turn into a positive reinforcement when the expected behavior is displayed, such as, setting the table, then giving them some of that screen time back is that positive reinforcement. So if the limitation is actually part of your new routine for the household, then it's not necessarily a consequence, it just is what it is. And then you can actually use it as that positive reinforcement.
Yeah, and I would say, kind of to Carrie's point, is shifting it a little bit, because I think that while kids are more likely to respond to getting more of something, so it's not so much that you did this, we're going to take away your phone, or we're going to take away, you're going to, the Wi-Fi gets shut off at 8 p.m. tonight. It's, hey, great job. You got your homework done before dinner time. The Wi-Fi is going to be on till 9 p.m. tonight, and kind of shifting it rather than to taking away. Maybe if that's something that's really powerful, that screen time, that phone use is a powerful thing for your child or your teen, to use it. But again, use it in that more kind of positive, more access when you're seeing the behaviors you want.
Yeah, I think also, part of that is just in the way that you're using the language, and that's that they earn the privileges, right? So you earn the opportunity to use the screen time more often, but you're also then earning, losing some of that screen time based on your behavior. So really trying to explain that to your teen. We try to do that a lot in, school conversations that we're having with youth, is that, you're earning everything. You're earning that opportunity for extra time, but you're also then, if you didn't necessarily make, good grades, then you're earning the opportunity to have to study more than having screen time. So really trying to have that conversation, with them based on helping them understand that, everything, all of our behavior is us earning that reinforcement or, not having the opportunity to access that reinforcement.
Okay, any additional recommendations for teens who struggle more with executive functioning due to a disability such as autism?
So the students who struggle with executive functioning, a lot of times, again, we kind of go back to those routines, especially for somebody who has something like autism with a disability of autism, setting those routines, practicing those routines, and using visuals with those routines is a really key in order to help reinforce with that executive functioning, right? So it helps build that routine, but also gives them that visual reminder of what steps they're supposed to be completing in the order that they should be completing them.
That's exactly what I was gonna say, Carrie, is thinking about the academic term we use are scaffolds, but kind of the supports that are in place are might be more intense for students that are still children that are still struggling with executive function skills. So while and we said it's a continuum, right? While some students, I know kids who are 8 years old who can, do their full routine, and then I know 17-year-olds, I know 37-year-olds who still struggle with executive function skills. So everyone is on their own continuum, but if you know that it's a struggle, you may need to have a little bit more of those visual supports, having plans. Okay, sitting down in the morning, what needs to get done today, kind of a little bit more of a hands-on coaching approach. There are lots of books that I would kind of think to look at. One that I can think of is Smart But Scattered. Is a really good book for how to kind of put some executive function strategies in at home for kind of some of those structures.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe Family Resource has a lending library. Is that correct? Where you
And
can
there's the link in the chat.
perfect. And that's actually,
So,
we recommend those
yeah.
to teachers as well, is that lending
Mhm.
library, because there's some really great resources there for parents and for teachers.
And what we can do is you don't have to come to us. We can pony the books to the closest school, to your child's school, and then you can pick them up in the office and then you can return them. And then the pony is our inter-office mail, and then they'll send it back to us. Okay, what do you do when your child makes the wrong choices nearly all the time?
Well, that's job security for us, right? That's why we have a kid. And so we have a lot of strategies that we use, and what Ashley was talking about earlier with the second session that we're going to do on the 31st, I think we'll be able to give you a lot more in-depth strategies. But one of the things that we try to work on with a lot of the students that we work with based on repetitive behaviors is really having a targeted conversation about why that thing continues to happen over and over again. And it's not, we talked earlier about like judgment and reserving judgment. You're going to judge, definitely. That just is natural reaction. We do a lot of work on, equity and cultural proficiency and all that. And we talk all the time about our biases. Like I've got my biases and that's what keeps me safe. So you're going to have those. It's just whether or not you voice it and whether or not you levy that over, your child when they continue to make mistakes over and over again. So part of that would be just to ask some questions, some why questions, and then not the judgmental, what is wrong with you? Or why do you keep doing that? Because that's not going to necessarily lend to a positive conversation, but it really is trying to explore why that happened. So it's, what were you thinking, when this certain situation happened? Or what were you feeling, when you react to things in a certain way? Having those targeted discussions without the judgmental tone, even though it's going on in your own brain, you kind of want to make sure that you don't convey that to them. But really, showing some empathy and understanding about, okay, I see that you keep making the same mistake over and over again. What's going on, in your head when those things happen? So having some of those targeted discussions about what their thought process is, what their perception is, and then also kind of what they're feeling or what, how things are affecting them while they're making those decisions, are some of the tools and strategies we use in conversations we have with students. But again, we'll visit that a little bit more in the second round of training.
Okay, this family member, can we have this webinar in all secondary schools, maybe in the evenings too? Um, but also, how do we know who the behavior intervention specialist is assigned to our school?
So if you, I believe, I know we have a behavior intervention services part of the Fairfax County Public Schools website. I don't know for sure if the specific pyramids are listed, just because sometimes with things have been changing as people get different positions, and so I don't know if who's on there. You could absolutely reach out to one of the administrators at your school, because they will know who it is. And as far as the secondary doing this specific training at specific schools, we absolutely, part of our role, kind of as Lisa shared in the beginning, is setting up structure. That I've done presentations at certain PTAs. So if it's something that you feel like would be beneficial, you can mention it to the administrators. We can work with them to see if it's possible for us to come into a PTA event. It may look a little different than this presentation, depending on who your behavior intervention teacher is and what support specifically is going on. But we are available for trainings like that as well. So if that's something that works, that's something we can absolutely consider.
On the public website for our behavior intervention services, our program manager and our 2 educational specialists are listed in their contact information. So if you would like to know who the specific behavior intervention teacher is, you can also reach out to them as well. I can put that website in the chat if you'd like.
That'd be great.
Thank you, Karen. I'm presenting, so I couldn't dive into knowing what was on there.
My daughter has trouble with executive functions. Can you suggest a resource to help us organize, etc.?
So like I said, that book, Smart But Scattered, is one of my really favorite books for some of those strategies. There's also a book, I want to say it's called Executive. Oh, let me see if I can find it. It's going to be more about, I think, kind of flexibility in thinking. But one of my other books that I recommend to parents a lot is called Solving Executive Function Challenges. Those 2 are kind of the ones that I tend to frequently suggest to parents when I'm in meetings.
Okay, what is the best strategy to initiate conversation, especially with a high schooler with a packed school session, homework, and tests?
Yeah, I mean, like we were talking about before, maybe trying, dinner time if at all possible, if you have the opportunity, if you're doing a, family dinner at the table, but really trying to ask those targeted questions. Again, reserving outward judgment in those conversations you're having. But just, even if it's family time, watching a movie, those kind of things, whenever you can try to fit it in, just really trying to ask those perception questions. What are your thoughts? And, what are you thinking? And what were you thinking during, whatever the challenging situation was? And then what were their feelings? What were they feeling and how did it affect other people? And then you describing how it affects you also is kind of helpful in the dialogue between the 2 of you. Most importantly, though, at the end is what do we do to make things right? What are we going to do to make this situation a little less challenging moving forward? We try to use those 3 questions in a lot of the restorative practices that we use with the students, as opposed to being as punitive as we used to be. Those are targeted questions that sometimes are helpful. But yeah, picking whatever opportunity. I mean, I've got a 9-year-old daughter, and the best opportunity for me is when she's in the back seat and we're driving. She, just peppers me with all kinds of interesting little questions in those situations while we're driving, and I take that opportunity to have some of that dialogue as well.
I also think that there are little moments where you either driving in the car or, before dinner or right after dinner where you're cleaning up, or you text them and say, hey, I'd like to schedule some time, and really set aside that time. It may not be as organic of a moment as driving in the car. You may have to actually schedule a time to sit down to talk. I know all of us are so overscheduled, and that's just the way our culture is right now. That sometimes you don't have as much downtime as I think maybe we did in the past. But I think if you can be really purposeful about finding a time that works, saying, "Hey, let's put this down. I know you're, you're studying for this test, but like, let's take a few minutes to check in." And then having that check-in be regular. I know I think probably every slide I'm talking about regular check-ins, that becomes then it becomes more organic, right? You may have to schedule it initially, but then it becomes normal and part of your routine, becomes easier to find that time to do it. And might even be easier for you and your team to open up because it doesn't feel so much like, oh, why do they want to talk to me? It just is the natural kind of weekly check-in on how things are going.
Actually, as Ashley was talking about that, it reminded me of my nephew and my brother. When he would get to work, there was about a 10-minute time that they would FaceTime, and it actually became non-judgmental and met him and his son where they were. His son was 17 when they started it, and it became just their once a week. They would meet, they talk about their week going forward, both sides, right? They were honest on both sides. I'm struggling with this, you're struggling with that. And that kind of opened it up because he met him where he was and on his playing field, which was that FaceTime piece.
And you know what? Carrie, listening to you, I hear that your brother was modeling it too, right? We talked about modeling and leading by example, sharing what's going on in your life and what you're struggling with and all of those things appropriately, right? We're not going to share too much, but kind of modeling a little bit more of our own executive function struggles, or saying like, oh man, how am I going to remember how to do this? I'm going to make sure that I set it out here before I go. And having some more of that like self-talk that we're naturally doing, but having it out loud, or saying, I'm really worried about this week because I have 7 meetings, whatever it is, and having that time to speak that out. They can see your executive function processing that you're doing, and you're modeling also sharing what's going on in your life, so they hopefully will eventually start reflecting back some of that as well.
My daughter is not a teen. She's about to be 7, but as soon as she comes home from school, she keeps asking for screen time till we give it to her. If we don't give it to her, she'll scream from the top of her lungs. We do have screen time limits in place, but she keeps asking for more. What's the best approach to handle this situation?
Again, we come down to setting those routines. Keep in mind, behavior does kind of have an escalation period to it. So when you set a new routine in place, the behavior will escalate. But a great way to start this is maybe just setting the routines with her. Again, modeling the behavior, having that visual of like, we do X, Y, Z, then we get our screen time. And that's a great opportunity to then build, right, those reinforcers with other things, but also introducing her to other things. Instead of screen time, we have other games or other things. I know in school sometimes they use screen time, but there's also other things that teachers are doing as well. So, kids may come home and saying that they're getting screen time all the time, but I can tell you, being in schools, they're not. They're doing puzzles, they're getting fidgets, they're playing with kinetic sand. So there's a lot of other things that are going on in place. And again, I come back to those visuals because those are great ways to really show those routines for both you and for your child. And that way everyone's kind of with that consistency.
What is the most effective way to teach them to refuse peer pressure and learn to say no? The Family Resource Center also has resources on this, so you can contact the Family Resource Center. There were some questions about how to build social skills. There were some questions about refusing vaping and smoking and drugs and alcohol. And the Family Resource Center has tremendous amount of resources to help families with that one.
High schools
Okay.
also have a substance abuse counselor
Right.
assigned to each high school, so you can also reach out to your counselor there.
Okay, this might be the last question. This is great and really resonates. However, my husband has a very different approach. There could also be some cultural differences in parenting here and is often very reactive. How do we get on the same page?
I think some of that is checking in with each other, and recognizing where your strengths and your weaknesses are. I know, you know, I'm in this role, and so I'm the one presenting this information. And I have a husband who is very different place in his parenting skills and understanding of all of it. And he wants to learn, but it grew up in a family that is very reactive. And so we're trying to navigate some of that as well. And I think it's kind of taking the time to check in and say, this is what I learned. What do you think? Is it something we can do? And also like checking in on your state of like, hey, I need to tag out because I know I'm going to be really, this is triggering for me and I'm going to have a big reaction. Maybe that's where you need to start, is like saying, like, if you know that you're going to have a big reaction to this, you need to take a moment, let me take over when you're ready to come back and kind of be able to have the conversation with our child, and is it able to be more open to having the conversation, then come back and join us. But if you need that moment, take that moment and come back. That may be easier said than done. All of us are in our own paths to our own self-regulation skills. One of the other executive function skills, again, in that big continuum, even as we're older, we still might not have some of those skills. But I think it's about having the time to check in with each other and checking in on kind of what each of you are able to do in each moment.
The other half is that positive reinforcement, right? Again, adults are the same. There's a lot of research out there that adults, I believe it's like 5-to-1. So again, reinforcing when you see, after discussing and kind of setting that goal together, reinforcing each other, having that conversation, doing those reflective conversations and saying, how did we handle it? Did we handle it the way we wanted to? And hey, great job, we handled these pieces right, but we need to do this differently. I mean, you're learning, we're all learning. Parenting is not, there's no one size fits all, and it's never one size fits all for every situation.
Okay, every kid, every situation, everything is different.
Give yourself grace.
I think if anything, that's the most important, right? Is to give yourself grace and take it bit by bit. So thank you, everyone. I want to thank our presenters for this wonderful webinar, and I hope everyone has a great day.
Thank you so much, Lisa. We hope to see you all on the 31st.